Yeah.
All righty. I'm going to hit record. The recorder is on. Let's do it.
Hey, my name is Eric North. I'm also known as the Happiness Warrior. I'm an entrepreneur in Washington, D.C., and I own the Performance Rejuvenation Center for 14 years. It's a longevity clinic in D.C. I'm a fitness advocate, an aging advocate as well, and a promoter of happiness. So that's me. All right, I'm listening to Vroom Vroom View with Jeff Smith, of course.
Uh-huh. Can you give yourself the permission to be happy?
Can you give yourself permission to be happiest with everyone? I would like everyone to think about that question, though,
There you
because that's
go.
a really important question in life. So
I think it's an important question too. That's why I said it. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
That's
I love
perfect.
it.
Let me hit stop.
Connected.
I'll be right back.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Shannon Ryan, thank you so much for being on Vroom Vroom Veer and welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hi, Jeff. Good. It's going great. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and we're getting close to holidays. I had 3 shows booked for this week. Guess how many I'm going to actually do?
Just me?
Just you.
I like
anything booked in December is sort of like, it seems like it's optional almost. It's like, maybe that'll happen.
Well, I'm glad that I stuck to the schedule.
There you go.
I'm
Good
looking
for
forward to
you.
the conversation.
Yeah, this is going to be, it's a tough week. Everybody's busy. I get it. So,
Everyone's busy.
So you are at shannonryan.com. So talk a little bit about what you're most excited about in your business, the book, whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, I did. I just launched a book on September 3rd called Your Money Has Feelings. But what I'm most excited about right now at this time in my life is just a total alignment between what I really love to do professionally and how I'm impacting people's lives with knowledge I've accumulated over 30 years, whether it be through my writing or through doing a podcast or out publicly speaking. I'm at that point where I'm taking so much knowledge of experience and starting to share it and hopefully demystifying the money frustrations that many of us have.
It is weird. Money is like this weird game.
It is.
And, we learn how many things, like if you didn't have money problems in a particular movie, book, story, it would just like all the drama would be gone, right? Or would it? Or would it? It might be different.
Or would it?
Yeah. Or would it is the or would it? Right. Because money problems aren't all about having it or not having it.
Well, and then how much of it do you need?
Yes.
And now the question is this whole thought of, if I have a money problem, then X number of dollars is going to solve it. And then you've got a different problem. And generally, it's not the money that's the problem. Because my book is called Your Money Has Feelings. But the reality is, money doesn't have any feelings at all.
No, it's a good title, though.
Exactly. It's our response, our interaction with it, our past wounds and experiences that we bring to money that creates the issue. So yeah, there's a lot of people in this world, sadly, that don't even have enough money to eat or house or to clothe themselves. There's real poverty.
Right.
But the rest of us do. And we're making decisions on that money every day that often don't fulfill us at all. And we end up having so many problems or emotions around money. And it's not a dollar amount that'll solve that. It's how we interact with money that does.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, that little snip in your one sheet about your past, right? Yeah. Like, wounds from childhood, wounds from relationships, or whatever, just life in general, they shape your ideas about money and feelings, not necessarily, and you wouldn't even know these things, right? You just feel them. You don't know them in a way, like how to do math, right?
Yeah. It's unconscious. I mean, it's
right.
When you grow up in a community, it could be community based. It could be familiar based. It could be family. It could be cultural. There's
Hmm.
so many influences on how we feel about money that we carry with us very unconsciously. And sometimes we'll respond to money and not even realize why we're having such an overwhelming response to it because we've forgotten about that wound. And I call it scar tissue because after the wound is healed and you've forgotten about it, I call it financial scar tissue that you carry with you that gets hit sometimes. And your
Yeah.
spouse may say something like, I want to make this purchase, and you over respond as to why they shouldn't make the purchase. And you don't realize why you responded that way has typically to do with old wounds that they may
Totally.
not even be aware of, too.
Right, right. So let's go back in time and talk about
All right.
little Shannon Ryan.
All right, Jeff, I'm 6 feet tall. I was never that little.
I imagine you were 5 years old and you had a little cute lunch pail and you went to school.
We had Holly Hobby, and it was one of those old metal-sided ones. I loved that
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Did it have a thermos in there? You get
Yeah,
soup
of
or something?
course. And it rusted from the inside. It was, yeah, good old days.
I saw this movie on Netflix, and it was the guy. What's his name? Ugh, the guy that did Star Lord in the Marvel movies. He's in another
Yes.
movie on Netflix.
Yes.
I can't remember his name now. I'm blanking on names as
I can
usual.
see his face too, but I'm
Yeah.
so bad with
Yeah,
actors'
me too.
names.
Anyway,
Yeah.
the joke was he's hanging out with his robot, and the robot doesn't know what a lunchbox is. He doesn't know that there isn't food in lunchboxes.
Yeah.
It's like, eat that lunchbox. You can't eat a lunchbox.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Anyway, so you where did you grow up? What part of the country?
So I am a Southern California girl.
Oh,
I grew
nice.
up in Huntington Beach.
Oh, wow. Nice spot.
Gorgeous spot.
Yeah.
And I lived with my dad. My mom and dad were divorced multiple times.
Whoa.
My dad was not, they weren't divorced from each other multiple times. They were
Okay.
divorced and married multiple times.
Gotcha.
My dad was married 3 times. My mom was ultimately married 5 times. And through that experience as a child, I actually chose to live with my father versus my mom. And we had a really close relationship, lived in Huntington Beach, 6 foot tall when I was 14 years old, so I had to figure out
Wow.
what to do with my, my big, long,
Yeah.
skinny body.
Right.
And I was a runner and really enjoyed that Southern California beach lifestyle, loved the ocean. But I grew up in a family that was going through a lot of turmoil because of what divorce brought.
Mm.
And although my father and I were very close and he has passed, I couldn't ask for a better foundation. He was, because of how he was raised, he used money as power through his divorces. He held it over people's heads and,
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
wives and used it as power. Liked to keep his wives. He didn't want them working, but then, would shame them when they were spending money because they
Yep.
weren't
Yep.
earning
Yep.
any.
Yep.
So
That's the big
a lot
power
of these
move.
things, power moves. A lot
Yeah.
of stuff happened when I was very young. Things that, he would tell me about, well, gosh, they didn't earn anything. Things you'd say to a 13, 14-year-old that we know better today than to say
Right.
to our children.
Right.
But he also, on the other side of it, sat me down at the dinner table every night, especially when it was just he and I between the marriages. And he would talk about what was important about money. Meaning he wanted me to learn about money. He wanted me to really understand how money functions in the world. Another way to say that is financial literacy.
Okay.
And he always made sure that I felt it important to make my own money, to make sure I was well educated, I could make my own money. So I always had choice and had control, which was ironic, right? Like he was
Right.
using money as power. He wanted
Yeah.
his wives to stay home and make dinner and have no
Right. Right.
earning
But he was
potential. So
making a mini me. He didn't want
yeah.
to. Right.
And he wanted me to go that way. So
Right.
it's interesting when you grow up in that because it was years later, Jeff, before I even realized what I was carrying from that. And when I met and married my amazing husband, I remember sitting down with him and saying, I just want you to be clear. I will always work. I want to be sure that I always have the ability to earn an income. I was worried about not being vulnerable because I saw how his wives were vulnerable with this control.
Right.
And it was interesting how so many of my life choices, and I think this happens a lot with money, my life choices were being driven by memories that I had forgotten about. Luckily, I've married an incredible human. I know I could really trust him. I have always worked. I've been working since I've been 16 and always very involved in the finances. Well, I manage money now, so
Yeah,
that's what I
right.
do for people. But I do think that there is room for us as humans to trust either your wife or your husband or your partner to carry the load at times without that guilt and that shame around not earning.
Right.
But it took me a long time to get to that
Yeah, you
point
probably
because of
were.
my pain.
Yeah, you were probably carrying around a fear of being dumped, right?
About being vulnerable. It was
Right,
not
right.
so much about being alone. It was I needed to maintain my skill set, my earning capacity to take care of myself and ultimately my children at any time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I didn't want to give that power to somebody else that they could hold over me. Meaning, if I wanted to, leave, I could
Right,
financially.
right.
And it's not a healthy thing. It sounds strong, it sounds like it's there's something to be admired, but it's a dysfunction. It's a dysfunction that came with me observing what I did growing up around money. And it took me years to really understand why I was so driven to earn and to make sure that I had money, my control set aside.
Right.
And I think it all goes directly back to what I witnessed as a kid.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a serious wound, that like, yeah, it's going to take time to heal. It's
Yep.
different than probably what most people think about as like you were kind of coming from, people with money. The people with
was.
that don't have money are thinking if I just had money, everything would be awesome, right? That's
Yeah.
not true either.
No. And my husband grew up in a home where they're very, very poor, Irish
Right.
Catholics, 6 kids, sometimes didn't know where their next meal was coming from. And so over the years that we've been married, we've had a lot of discussions about how that has impacted his spending decisions and how we
Right.
interact with money. When we were first married, I was saying I'm always going to work. And what he said to me is, I will never look at what you spend, Shannon, but I just want to always know the credit cards are paid off at the end of the month, meaning that his wound was watching his family barely be able to make ends meet, running
Right, right.
deep, deep credit card debt with all of the interest charges that limited the family long term, never owned a home,
Right.
all of those things. And so his fear was the deep, deep hole that his family dug. He never wanted to do that on his own. So it's interesting when you start to have these conversations as a couple and you can be as transparent as you can be. Some of us don't even know what left wounds in us. But it really impacts our decisions around money. And once we start to recognize it, it doesn't change. You don't forget those feelings, those wounds, and that scar tissue doesn't go away. But once you identify it, you can interact with it a little bit more. Oh, that's why I'm doing this
Right.
because I'm scared.
Right,
I'm
right,
scared
right.
because I didn't have a meal coming in. So I find it fascinating. That's my field, though.
No, yeah. I mean, I get it. But like,
Yeah.
you can talk to people about spreadsheets and budgeting forever, right? And at some point maybe that'll help. That will help. I mean, at some point,
Yeah.
but you got to do the other thing first. So I've been doing this thing called
you do.
there's this movement called the Financial Independence Retire Early movement that I've been playing with, and I kind of found it sort of like backdoor. Like I sort of like realized I had been doing it without reading about it. Right.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I actually first heard somebody talk about it, I thought, well, there's no way I can do that. Right. And that was, I think the guy talking, I think his internet handle was Mr. Money Mustache. His real name's Pete. Real name Pete.
Mr. Money Mustache.
Mr. Money Mustache. Right. He has a good mustache, or he did
Does
at one
he?
point.
Oh, that's good.
I think it's good to have a fake internet identity sometimes.
I agree.
That's hilarious. But anyway, he was like, he retired like when he was 30 something. He was an engineer, right? And it was him, his wife, he's since divorced, but him, his wife, and one kid. And they were like living on $25K a year. And I was like, that's amazing. I can't do that. Next thing, right?
Yeah.
And I missed a little thing about like that 25K a year is for him, right? It's not that's for him.
Yes.
Right.
In
Mine might
alignment
be a
with-
lot more than that. Right.
It's in alignment with his needs. And I think that's
Exactly.
where I think sometimes when we're following people, that's where we make a mistake. We assume that how they're doing it is the right way for us.
Right.
The theory may be the right, but the numbers may not be right.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. When I dug into it a little bit further, they got into that 4% rule. So that, and then it's also this little bit of math about how to get that number, right? How to figure out that number. When I figured out mine, I was like, oh, okay, I can do that. That's not so bad. So then I started working on it in earnest. But the reason I bring all of that up is whenever I try to talk about that to anybody, like friends, family, strangers, right? Strangers probably most open. I would say that.
Yeah,
But
probably.
yeah, but like friends, family, forget it. It's like you can't start that conversation from the topic of money. And what you talk about is why, right? It's because everybody's got like different stuff about what the game is that they're playing.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's just, I always joke, you can talk about sex, drugs, rock and roll, like anything you want to, but you bring up money,
Right. Right.
nobody wants it. And I truly believe it's because there is so many people, most people, and I worked with people, and I don't just talk about money. I don't
Right.
write books about money. I
Right.
literally live it every day. I have 3 clients. I saw a client this morning. I'm with you. I'm seeing 2 clients this afternoon. Real people with
Right.
real
Right.
money who have real life
Right.
stories. And I've been doing that for over 30 years. And it, for me in the industry, it's a real difference than people that are writing and talking about money who haven't lived behind the dark curtain with people, because it is emotional. And the issue that we have right now, and we were talking a little bit about AI before we started today, and it's interesting because you can get onto ChatGPT, or you can get onto Gemini, you can get onto wherever you want and put in, I want to retire at this age and I want to spend this much money per year and tell me all the best vehicles. It could come up with a heck of a great plan for you. It could,
Right.
if 4% is enough for you on a certain amount,
Right.
4% is enough for you. Meaning we can get the nuts and bolts. If you want it to tell you what a stock is and a bond and different kinds of investments, we have so much available at our fingertips. So here's the question. Why aren't we more financially literate? Meaning, if it
Right.
was just a knowledge question,
Yeah.
then game over.
Right.
But it's not.
It's
It's an
totally
emotional
not.
question.
It's totally
It's
not. No, because it's all there. It
all
used to
there.
be you'd have to Google it and dig through web pages. You don't even have to do that anymore.
Not anymore. You can actually even tell Google, when I was finishing up my book, it took me 2 years to do my book. I was finishing up my book, and towards the end, I said, all right, I have some statistics on some financial literacy and everything. I need to update the statistics before I went to print because they were a couple years old at that time. And when I first started doing it, I would have to go to all the academic sites and look at the white papers myself. Now I
Right.
just went to ChatGPT and said, I need statistics on da in this region on these people. Cite your sources and write the citation. And bam, and then I
It
could
was
double check
done.
it all.
Yes.
So information is flows so freely now. It's
Right.
our response, what we carry with us. And I
And
think
your
what we
past.
miss,
Yeah.
yeah, what we miss is our ability to allow ourselves, and you started talking about it, Jeff, to want what is important to us and make it in alignment with our current life. And this is
Right.
your vroom vroom veer, meaning saying that we could be going vroom vroom and getting through our life and doing all the right things. I've got my job, I bought my house, I do my 401k. Good girl, I'm doing everything right. But the reality is that, am I doing it right for what I want? Or am I
Right.
doing it right for what I think society wants? And if we're not on that track,
Right.
then we need to veer to that track to
Totally.
make sure that it's the right one for us. I had 2 clients that were in the tech world early on, making a great living, early 30s, and they came into my office, and they came in like a lot of clients do, with all of their information, Jeff, and they're like, okay, look how we're doing. Look at our stocks and our bonds, and look at our income. Aren't we doing well? And they had just bought a home. And so I did something that makes everyone really comfortable. I pushed all the papers aside and said, I'm sure you're doing a great job. But before we dive in, can you tell me what's important to you about all this money? Meaning, what do you want in your life? And it's interesting because it's a big question. You would think if you ask that people would know what they truly want financially. And I will tell you, I ask the question every day. It's very hard for people to really articulate or allow themselves to articulate what they want. So this couple had said, hey, we just bought this gorgeous new house. And they were telling me about the house. And I said, wonderful. What else? And they said, well, we're young, we're in tech, we're working hard, we don't have kids yet, really want to do an extensive amount of travel. And I said, outstanding. Where are you going this year? Well, no, no plans this year, next year, because we just bought this house and we've overextended ourselves. And so I started asking questions to say, well, is the home more important to you than your travel at this point in your life? And they said, no, we want to own a home, but we know that without children right now, and we want to have children, that this is really our freedom time. And I said, so you've done what I would call in my generation is you've made yourself house poor, where you can't do the other things that you want to do, and you're counting on your income going up or your income always being there. And so why did you do that? And
Well, you got to buy a house. Is why
no, got to buy a house, and
Yeah.
you've got to buy. They had a like 5 bedroom house that was much bigger, much like newer, no kids, just the two of them. And they said in our culture, it was cultural. It is a badge of honor or recognition or a success
Right.
if we own the biggest house we can possibly. So stretching has made our parents proud of us. And I said, fantastic. You've proven you can do it. Now, who are you two? What do you want to do?
Right.
And so it was a huge discussion. We dug into all the rest of their money, got their retirement. Long story, even longer. They ended up selling the house, buying a smaller house, and started traveling. And they are the happiest couple that I work
They
with.
they bought a smaller house. Is that what
They
they
bought
did?
a smaller house.
Okay,
They bought a house.
that's good. Yeah,
They had a
that's good.
smaller house.
Yeah.
They freed up cash flow.
Yeah.
They do 2 giant trips a year, at least. Well, now they have a young daughter now. So they do two giant trips a year until they had their daughter. And they are so in alignment, but it took time for them to give themselves permission
Yeah.
to veer.
Right,
And because the expectation culturally from their cultural background was the house was what everyone looked at to say you were successful. And
Yeah.
I said, well, success is alignment, really.
I went through that. I totally went through that. That whole like I went through like sort of like a kicking myself, sort of like beating myself up. So listen to this because it might make you a little like envious or mad. So feel what you feel. But okay, so I'm going to try to short story this because I've told it before. But because of weirdness, like a lot of people when I was stationed in England, like people in my peer group, same age, same rank, were buying houses, selling them and getting like these huge checks tax free when they leave. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I lived in housing, right? So I didn't get any checks, right?
Yeah.
So I learned this like when it's already too late to buy the house, right?
Right.
So I'm like, I'm so stupid. So the next thing on my I have to do list is buy a house, right? Because I want the big check.
Yeah.
Of course, as I learned later, that was like a very unique scenario
Yeah.
of like, so like there was all these different things that made that like an amazing deal that I should have done had I known about it.
Right.
Right. I didn't. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, right. You know, you're not stupid. You just
stupid.
missed the thing.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. Right. But I didn't learn that until way later. But anyway, I ended up buying a house in California. And then later on, 2008 happened.
That happened.
Thankfully, I survived.
Good.
Yes. And I came out okay, not great. What I'll say is I don't want to count up how much I spent on refinance fees because
Yeah.
I'd rather not. No.
You're not alone. It's
I'd rather not know.
Ignorance feels like bliss sometimes. It's
Yes.
not always. We miscalculate if we don't look at the numbers, but I will tell you that you're not alone.
If it's gone, why bother?
It's gone. It's a lesson.
It's gone. Just know you spent way too much money, but you learned something. You paid a
Learned,
lot for that lesson. Yes,
Yeah.
move on. Yeah, so I get
Yeah.
it. I get it. So many lessons in life.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because I have a favorite 4-letter word. It's next, meaning take the lump, learn the lesson.
Exactly. Next. That thing
Let's keep
about
going.
like that is a big deal though. That whole like story. It's like the American dream, but it's not a generic American dream because America is a melting pot. So
is.
every subculture that calls itself American has a version of the American dream, right? But
Exactly.
part of that is owning a home. Now,
And that was a big part of that.
yeah, yeah. Now, if I read a very controversial blog post that said, if you were to like look at a home as an investment, it wouldn't look that pretty.
Well, and I think what gets me is this notion, and again, I always say I should hold my face up as I'm saying this. I've been doing this a really long time,
Right.
and it's interesting because people, for whatever reason, and maybe it is our, at least here in the United States, our American spirit, go west, get land.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll
The
always make
American
money.
dream,
Yeah, and you never pay taxes
Right.
and own as much land as you can. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of misleading things in that. And a lot of people will own a primary home and then they've got to have, here in Southern California, everybody wants the house on Palm Springs and a house up
Right.
in Mammoth. And
Right,
I'm
right.
sure in different parts of
Yes.
the country, you've got those
Right.
different driving
You got to have a
forces.
hunting camp in Michigan.
Yeah,
Yes.
hunting camp, or you've got
Summer
Texas,
house.
you've got your hunting flat or whatever.
Right,
So
right.
it's very expensive and there's very few places within the United States outside some of these coastal cities that ever becomes profitable even with rents. Meaning people have, if you want a vacation home because you want to return to it and you want to create legacy of memories and experiences there, it is not a good investment. If you really run the numbers on it, 9 times out of 10, it is not a good investment. That doesn't mean not to do it. There's plenty of reasons to do it, but investment isn't one of them. I
Right.
hear young
Right.
people saying, "Well, I'm going to buy this condo and that condo. I'm going to VRBO or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Airbnb."
Yeah.
And the Airbnb and VRBO rules around the country and all of our cities are changing very quickly.
Right.
And if something goes unrented and the people who are selling these things are really good about you're going to have passive income for the rest of your life. It's not going to cost you
Right,
anything
right,
except
right.
for the new roof and
And the new
flood
toilet
that happened.
and all the shit you got to deal with every day.
Yeah, and it's
I mean, if you're already doing those things, it could work out. Like if you're a handy person and you
Yep.
know how to go buy a toilet and install it from Home Depot and get a really good deal, it could work out.
if you
But
want to
you're
spend your
like-
life fixing the toilet in your rental. I mean,
Right.
and some people
don't.
do. I'm not
Some
criticizing.
people do.
Some people
Right. Some
really
people
like
do.
that.
Right. Yes. It's figuring out what you said before is like figuring out what you want.
Exactly.
And not because you think you want it, but you really want it, right? Like that thing about the parents. Is that is that what you want, or is that what you want to do for your parents? Right. Yes.
Yeah, no, I live in a city in Manhattan Beach. I live in Manhattan Beach, California.
Oh, nice.
And
That's a nice
there's
spot. Good
It is a
food.
nice spot. My husband grew up here, dirt poor, so it's gotten a nice spot later in life here.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's gotten to be bougie where it
Yeah.
used to be you wanted to live inland. So it's a funny thing how areas change. They used to call everybody who lived here beach trash. Because
Man,
you don't live at the beach. You don't live at the beach. You summer at the beach, and yet this has become a really wonderful.
right, right.
I love this community, but there's a lot of folks in this community have homes in Deer Valley or in Mammoth and these other places.
Okay.
And I think that a lot of people do it and they love them, Jeff. They enjoy them. But I think a lot of people do it because of the community aspect. They know we're all going skiing here and everybody has a house, so we need to have a house.
Right.
Whether it aligns or misaligns. So I see people stretching for things and doing things that they think will make them happy. And then they realize, oh, that wasn't my dream. That was my neighbor's dream. And I just pointed on to it.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I was in, do you know where LA Air Force Base is in El Segundo?
I do.
So like I was like riding my bike all around Redondo Beach, and
It's great. Oh, you were?
I
Yeah.
miss it so much now. It's harder
it's
to
a great
ride my
place.
bike in Las Vegas.
Yes. A little warmer. Yeah.
Super hot, and my neighborhood is like undulating hills. So I have to
Yeah.
make
Oh,
sure
yeah.
my granny gears are ready.
That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah, there's
Anyway.
some beautiful communities out there, though, in Nevada now.
Oh yeah.
around.
Oh yeah. Vegas is great. It's every no place is perfect. No, there's no perfect place. You're on Earth, So you just you take your pros and your cons and you make your weight and you go with it.
You again, back to what we talked about. You have to align the values and how you want to live your daily life with
Right.
where you're living. And that's to me the key is this, and that's when you said, 4%, as long as that gives you the lifestyle and the life experience that you want. I mean, we're not
Right.
taking it with us,
Right.
and heaven forbid the next generation can earn their own. So
Right.
you want to be able to show you're enjoying your money and your life, and you are allowed to do that. That is not something shameful to do.
Let's talk about some of those stories that we talked about. Some either
Yes.
from you or some of your favorites from clients, maybe like recent stories. Just because I like this and I know
Yeah.
like I think the key for me, like some of the lessons I learned was it's not about how much you have.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what that amount is, right?
It doesn't.
As long as it's enough for you to do what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's more wealthy than somebody that needs to have how much is enough. There's no enough, right? If there's no enough, you're never going to be happy, right? Money's not going to make you happy anyway, but
Well, and so one of the things that I talk about is that money is primal. So let's start with why we feel it's never enough, meaning that, and why money is such an emotional topic.
right.
It's because money is the way that we as human beings, whether it's the dollar or the yen or
Right.
all the different currencies, we exchange a currency for things that help us live, food and
Right.
clothing and
Right.
housing. And so money is extremely primal, but it also is how our society, not only domestically, but internationally, how we judge each other. Meaning that if I
Wow.
said, "Hey,
Okay.
Jeff, you were so successful," somebody may think, "Wow, Jeff's earned a lot of money," without examining the quality of your life. Meaning that
Right.
we often will put people on pedestals that have been really successful financially without looking at the backstory, meaning their
Right.
family, how they live their life, isn't it in alignment? And we're always shocked when people who we think as very successful decide to do things like end their own life and do things that you think, well, gosh, they had such a great life. They did
Yeah,
it
but you
because we
don't get it.
judged it on the financial side.
Right.
And so, and I say that so we as human beings can remember why we're emotional about money is because it's how we live, and it's also how we think society judges us, and we want to be judged favorably. I mean, we
Right.
want people to think we're successful and at least we're doing well. And
Right.
that is human nature because we used to be tribal. And if we weren't doing well enough for the tribe to like us, we could be out on the plains starving to death.
Yeah,
So
they could kick
this
you out
is
of the
all,
village.
yeah, this is in our DNA. So
Right.
when you get hard on yourself about your reaction to money or your desire to, I don't know, buy the car or the designer purse or whatever else that shows the society that you are wealthy, there's a real primal drive
Right.
behind that. And what I find is, and we've talked a lot about basic financial literacy type stuff, but the money bias goes into the investing side heavy. Meaning that I had a client, and we've had a couple kind of booms and busts during my career. And one of them was the early 2000s. So
I
in the
remember
late
that crash. Yeah.
1998, 1999, I was newer in the business, and I had a client where I was working on the East Coast, and I had a client and his wife, who were one of my original clients when I was first practicing as a financial advisor. So they were really important to me. They're one of my largest clients, and I felt like I was doing a really good job for them. And they came in at the end of the year in 1998. And if you remember that year, everything had been going straight up. It was really the start of the computer age, the internet, where you had companies like Yahoo and others, many that you don't even know the names of now because
Right.
they boomed and
Boost.
they busted.
Right.
But it was a lot of companies with no book value, meaning they didn't have any money. They just had a .com after their name, and so everybody thought that they were going to go crazy. So
Right.
people investing, making money hand over fist. And this couple was about, gosh, 3 or 4 years away from retirement. And they came in and we had gotten 37% that year. Now, that's a crazy number on a balanced portfolio.
Yeah.
Balanced portfolios typically today are going to get between 5 and 8% if you're well balanced and so forth.
Right.
37%. And I'm thinking we blew the doors out. Like they're going to be thrilled. And I had my speech ready. Like this doesn't happen all the time, but gosh, the text, the went crazy. So we got fortunate. And he comes in and you can tell he's not happy. And he sits down and he goes, going through the returns. And I said, I'm thrilled. I just want to make sure you know this close to retirement to get this on a, fairly conservative portfolio is huge. It just puts you in a better position for retirement. And then he said, the returns are horrible. And I said, excuse me? They are like eight
Wow.
times what we had planned on in your plan. Like, I don't understand. And he said, I was out at my mailbox. We lived in an area where it was a walk to your mailbox. And so I was out at his mailbox, and his neighbor was out there talking about his portfolio that was all .com. It was all technology, and he had gotten 78% or something like that
Right,
year.
right, right.
And my client, all that I didn't do well enough, I didn't keep up. He did better. He had the inside scoop when I
Wow.
didn't.
Right,
All
right,
of
right.
those real feelings. And so he and I talked about it and said, I don't know his financial situation. And he said, well, I want you to put me all in tech, all in .com. And I said, I can't do that. I'm a comprehensive financial advisor. I'm a CFP, so there's certain ethics I've got to adhere to, and that's such a terrible balance. These companies don't even have book value. I had no idea, Jeff, at the time what was coming in 2000, and
Mm.
I did not want to lose this client, but I wasn't going to put him in 100% tech.
Yeah.
I
No, that would be
couldn't do
insane.
it.
That would be insane.
Well, and it does historically, but at the time, people were making money so quickly that then,
Especially when you're like that mode. If he was like 20, that would have
yeah,
been
no.
okay, right?
It would have been okay if he wanted to take a boom
but
or
he
bust risk. So
exactly.
he and his wife fired me. And I will
That's
tell you, it
okay.
was devastating. So they fired me. I didn't change. He fired me. So he comes 99. I'm still wrong. I'm sure he made a ton of money in 1999. And
Right.
then in years 2000, I was transferred down to Texas. I took over as a regional vice president or field vice president down there. And I was walking in my office, and my administrative assistant said, Hey, Shannon, so and so's online too. And I went, oh, this was 2000, 2001.
Okay.
And the bust had come.
Right.
And it was this man of this couple. And I get on the phone and I said, before you say anything, please just tell me that you didn't do what you said you were going to do. And he said, Shannon, I've been looking for you. I realize now you got transferred. I was horrible to you. You tried to save me from this. And I've lost 80% of my retirement investments.
Oh
And I
my
said,
goodness.
tell me you rebalanced, you didn't get out. He goes, oh no, I went to the sidelines. I don't know if I'll ever be able to get back in again. And I'm certainly not going to be able to retire, but I owed you an apology because you tried to stop me. And I got off the phone and I just wept because
Right.
it was hard to lose him as a client, but it was much harder to hear that he had actually taken that type of risk and this thing had gone upside down.
Mm.
We as human beings want to win financially. We want to think we have an inside scoop on something that no one else has.
Mm.
So fear and greed leave us very vulnerable to fraud and to risk beyond our risk tolerance. And
Right.
that is where feelings come into money as well and create more money mistakes, things that we
Mm.
don't talk about at the holiday dinner party because we're
Right.
embarrassed as heck that we would do something like that.
Right.
But they happen all the time because of fear or greed.
Totally. That's
Yeah,
sad. It is sad.
it
And
is.
I bet you blamed yourself for a long time.
I did.
I
It's
bet.
interesting.
Yeah. Right.
I did because I
Yeah.
wondered, could I
What could
push
I have done?
harder?
Right. Right. Right.
What could I have said? Like what could I have said? Because I pushed. I basically went back to, and I was a young professional. I don't know, I was in my late 20s and I was new and I was,
Yeah.
not intimidated, but I really liked these clients. And I basically said, listen, I've got my CFP, I've got a master's of science in financial planning. I've got the academic side. I do this every day. Something here doesn't look right. There is no book value in these companies. I
Mm.
know they keep going straight up, but historically, nothing ever keeps going straight up. And the risk you're about to take could implode your retirement. Like
Right.
I did everything. And yet, you're right. I wept. I never thought, oh, I told you so. Good. I'm glad it happened. Never
No.
for 1 second.
No. Right. That's a
I was
huge lesson
heartbroken.
for you.
I was
Yes. Right.
heartbroken.
Right.
I haven't spoken to him since. I've thought about them a lot though.
Yeah. It's sad. I get it though. I
Yeah.
understand. And
Yeah.
that's another thing that like peer pressure got him, you know.
It's they call it herd mentality,
Right,
meaning
right.
if
There
you
you
think
go.
everyone's
Okay.
doing better and you don't know what
Right.
obviously he's doing so much better than my financial advisor. I got to run over there. You see it with Bitcoin right now. You see it with some of the meme stocks with those,
Right.
if you hear people talking about things that are too good to be true at the
They
gym, or
totally
your
are.
massage
Yes.
therapist is
Yeah. Yeah.
giving you recommendations,
Right. Yeah.
and the massage therapist could be, very knowledgeable. I'm not criticizing massage therapists. I'm
Right.
just
Right.
saying if the advice is coming from somebody who doesn't know your financial situation and is not usually in alignment with the financial
Right.
field, you may want to double check your
Yeah.
information.
And there's another thing too, is like, you don't know what you don't know. He didn't know what
Right.
he didn't know. And I think you with your dad and really being young, having that
Mhm.
solid foundation. I got really lucky when I was like super young, like in my 20s. This guy that I didn't even know, right? Like just
Mhm.
started drilling me about money, right?
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
awesome.
Yeah. And I thought I was, I didn't have a whole lot of like I didn't have a dad that knew anything about money, right? But I did have an uncle and he gave me a little bit of advice. He said, max out your IRA. And I did,
Yeah.
right? But that's all I was doing, right?
Yeah.
And then this guy was like, so what are you doing with your money? Right. And I was like, I'm doing this. And he's like, oh, you got to do this, this, this. But the
Yeah.
thing that he said that really changed my life was he said,
Mhm.
check out fool.com. Right.
Yeah. They're
You
great group.
remember them?
Oh,
Well,
they're still around.
they're still around, but I mean,
Yeah.
they've changed and become what they were working against, in my opinion, a little bit.
They've been, yeah,
They're still
they're still good.
they're still
still
good, but
Yeah.
they're
They're
really
corporate.
catering to rich people now. There's a
Well,
lot
and
less free
but
content around.
to be fair, they had to make a business model, I'm sure, to
Yeah,
feed their families as well.
obviously, and I paid them a lot of money and made a lot of money from them. I'm not bashing them
They
now, but they have changed.
the early days of
Yeah,
the motleyfool
yeah.
dot com was awesome.
So I went and took to heart that they had this thing called the Fool School, and
Yeah.
it was this free thing, and it was like foundational. It was like if you're within 5 years of retirement, this is what you need to be invested in.
Yeah.
Became religion to me. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, so I can be risky, a little bit risky up until 5 years before retirement,
Yeah.
and then not.
Well, and I as
Right.
an advisor, everybody has their own. I like some of their stuff, but
Right.
the reality is, if you're going to live for 30 years in retirement, which we
Yeah.
are now, I mean, we
Right.
have longer life
Sure. Sure.
expectancy. You don't want to keep it all too conservative if you
No,
got 30 years ahead of you.
no.
So
I'm like I'm sixty
it's a
forty
nuance.
now. Yeah, 60
Yeah,
40 is fine. Yeah.
yeah.
But not all stock for crying out
Well, no, and you've got to.
Right.
It's such an interesting thing. I mean,
Right.
I that transition too is incredibly emotional, from working to not working, meaning
Yeah.
from we're earning an income, putting as much away as you can in your retirement accounts, and educating your kids, and making sure that you have a house over your head, and all the things, all the pressures of what my daughter now calls adulting, because she's getting ready to graduate from college,
Right.
and all the adulting things, to then taking that turn to live off of the income, knowing that if you walk away, you're probably never going to be able to get back at the same income level.
Right.
And did I save enough? And what if there's another downturn? And
Right.
then how to take that income, considering investments and taxations and availability of the cash. And there's a real art to doing it. It's not hard. Like I said, it's one of my wheelhouse. I've been doing it for so long. It's not hard to do, but there's a real art to it,
Oh, yeah.
and especially with the life expectancy. And that's the interesting thing that I find fascinating now is this longevity question around money,
Right.
where
We don't know
and
how
making
long we're
money
going to live,
last.
right?
Yeah.
We really don't. Yeah. In the FI
don't.
community, they say once you get to that point where you stop working and start living off of your thing, you realize that all the money stuff was actually the easy part.
It is the
It is super the easy part. Then
I
you're
say that
going to
all the
start
time.
doing the emotional stuff about what do I do now?
the joke around my office and with my team is the money's easy. I've been investing for decades. The
Right.
vehicles are easy. I mean, I also am an adjunct
There's
professor
nuance.
at the American College. I teach the CFP, and I love teaching it. And there's always new things to learn. I will never know every little nuance because tax law is always changing.
Right.
But that's the easy stuff. The humans are the hard part,
Totally.
because we're all different, and we all have different
Right.
life experiences that we bring to the table. And that to me is what's really fascinating. If it was just about the money and money management, I think I'd be getting close to retirement. That's not that interesting.
Right.
Human beings and our life stories and our human experience with money, Now that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And it's, yeah, the easy part. I mean, it's not easy getting there, but the math and the money, that
It's
becomes like,
straightforward.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a
It's straightforward.
spreadsheet. Yeah.
It's
read,
teachable.
yeah.
It's teachable.
Read a thing, learn a thing, ask
Yeah.
questions. Yeah. It's not emotionally charged like that, the real hard stuff. Right.
But what's emotionally charged is most people, and you said budget earlier. I don't like the word budget because
Right.
most people repel. It's kind of like saying, "Hey, you want to get on the scale today? Come on over." And so, like, we're gonna have a
Right.
party. Everyone's gonna jump on the scale in front of each other. It's the same thing. It's kind of
Yeah.
like the financial scale. No one wants to get on it. Nobody wants to look
Right.
at it. So, what happens is that it's the knowledge is out there, but we don't even look at it. We don't even approach money because it's better just to stay blind towards
Right.
it because it's my sister said once is funny, and she's a very bright woman, but she said, Shannon, ignorance is bliss. If there's money in the check account, I'm good. And I've got her to the point now she doesn't believe that any longer.
Good.
But it's understanding your flow of money, what's coming in and what's going out, and what you really want
Yeah.
for yourself
That's huge.
is the key because people don't seek the information we're talking about until they have a handle on that. Because yes, they can go on and Google where we started this conversation, all of these topics, how to have a successful retirement, how to invest in your 401k. Should I do an IRA or SEP IRA if I'm, individually employed because I'm an entrepreneur? So many tools. Like there are so many vehicles.
All free.
All free.
If you
But
want it.
you're
Yes.
not going to approach those vehicles if
Yeah.
you're gummed up because of money emotion.
You're right. And that, when I first found that article that like very easy, clearly, succinctly describes what to do, right?
Yeah.
Like step one was learn how much you spend every month.
Pretty basic.
I know, but that's
know if
the
people
thing.
know?
The thing that scares people the most is step one. Learn how much you spend every month. What?
And do you know how many
don't
people
know.
get that wrong, Jeff? Like,
Yeah, I
will
know.
tell you, it's like
Yeah.
the two questions that are
Right.
most important
Yeah, yeah.
to me about financial planning is what do you want for yourself? Meaning,
Okay.
what's important about money? The second one is what's your run rate? Meaning,
Run rate,
what
right.
does it cost you to live?
Yeah.
And most people, even highly intelligent, highly educated, incredibly successful, tens of millions of dollars, can't answer those two questions. And those are foundational to
Right.
everything else. Until you know what your run rate is and what you're spending, it's hard to answer what I'm going to need in retirement or what I need in an emergency because you don't know what you're spending.
You don't know where you're at. Right. And
Right.
and that's where a lot of the emotion is like,
Agreed.
and as soon as they start looking, then all those things come up, all those stories. Who am I telling? But yes.
Well, you're judging. They're judging their spending. I mean, what I hear,
Right.
and again, because of I get to do this in real time all day long, is people will say, "Well, I spend this much amount of money a month, or maybe a little bit more." It's always more than they say. So it's always like
Sure.
people give you a lower weight than what they really weigh.
Right,
But
right,
it's
right.
always more. It's always more than they say. And they'll say, "Well, that was a one-off. It's holiday season. That's a one-off." Or I got a facial, or I did this. You know what? It's facing what you're truly spending for whatever reason is a pain point because people feel ashamed at times that they spend what they spend.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Right. Right. Yes. This is fascinating. You need to come back.
This has been fun. You're easy to talk to, Jeff.
Yeah. I just I want to learn like from you maybe how to talk to friends and family in ways that help me
Yeah.
steer the ship towards, facing those fears a little bit.
Well, maybe it's a conversation we have. I have a lot of great ideas on how to have that conversation where
Yeah.
it needs to start from a place of empowerment, meaning we need to leave the realm. I think in everything we do, we need to leave the realm of judging, and our
Totally.
brain
Yeah.
does judge. And frankly, judging brain saves you. If you judge not to step out in the street in front of a moving car or a truck, good judgment. But
Right.
the problem is that we judge ourselves the most harshly. I mean,
Right.
you've seen all the studies. The things that we say to ourselves inside of our brains are just horrible.
Right.
And then we assume other people's brains are thinking that about us. And then we won't even talk to family and friends about things that would be very helpful because we're judging ourselves so harshly that if I tell my brother Jeff that I'm doing this, oh my gosh, then he's going to think this of me. Let me get my house in order, which I will never do before I talk to Jeff about this. And
Right.
so, and I'm
Right.
saying this because this is what people say to me behind closed doors. And
Right.
it is, it is it's interesting. I just never had, we all have a judging part of us,
Mm.
but when you put the judging aside, meaning A is A, here's where you're at in life and here's where you've landed. Let's
Mm.
start here.
Yeah.
Meaning, don't tell me
Take the
what you did
shame
or the
out, take the blame
mistakes.
out. No
Yes.
guilt, no shame.
Yes.
Just
Show up today
figure out
in your
what we're doing.
pajamas. Yeah. And let's talk.
Coffee, breakfast. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You don't even need to put your mascara on. Just
What-
show up.
One of the things that I liked that I learned, and I think it came not from money, but from like spiritual texts and things like that. This idea that I am 100% responsible for everything that happens in my life, even when I don't think so.
Yes.
And so in the moment, I'm mad at the printer.
Of course.
And then later on, I realized that the printer doesn't care if I'm mad. I remember, it might take a week or a month or a year or something.
Well, and it's hard to own that too because
Right.
our
Right,
our
right.
natural our I always say our younger brain, our immature brain, and we can be immature at very accelerated ages.
Sure.
but
Yeah.
but it's how we respond to the world that ultimately creates our life experience. And I've been working in money so long that I will tell you your thoughts are incredibly powerful, meaning that what you allow to flow to you because how you think about it. And I know that sounds a little bit woo woo, but the spiritual texts are there for a
Right.
reason. And people will say, well, Shannon, do you believe all this energy or this energetic flow around money? And I do. And it's not just sitting in your chair at home saying, I hope for money, I hope for money, I hope for money. So it's not that.
Right.
It's allowing your brain to believe that you're worth it, that you will figure it out, that you will be able to align and get the things that you want, and you'll start to see opportunity. Very similar if I said, all right, Jeff, when we're done, when you get in your car, if you get in your car, look for red cars. You'll see red cars everywhere.
Right.
It's if you allow your mind to say, I can do this, I can learn this, I can be empowered around money. It's not that the universe, and I think the universe opens up and supports you in that,
Right.
but it shows you all the things that you've been blind to because all of a sudden now you're looking for the positive. If you want to find all the negative reasons why you will never have enough money, why you will always be poor, and it's somebody else's fault, I promise you, if that's what you're focused on, you will find it. And I'm constantly telling my kids, even my daughter last night called and we were talking, she's finishing up her finals in college right now. And she said, I'm just not good at test taking. I'm like, sweetheart. And she goes, oh, I know. I should not say that. I shouldn't tell my brain that. I said, don't. Because you will do everything you can to prove yourself right. And the same thing as money.
One of those things that the woo-woo books got right is like, whatever you say, the universe says, okay, I guess that's it. Okay, I guess okay. If you say so, it's more like if you say so, that's the answer. If you say,
I agree.
you know,
Because your brain starts to look for it, meaning
Right.
it's where we put attention to. There was an old, gosh, I remember this because I didn't see the gorilla the first time. And I'm just saying, I didn't see the gorilla. There was
I remember that the
psychological thing where they
basketball.
came out
Yeah,
and
they're playing
I'm so
basketball.
analytical. They said, okay, the ball's being thrown back to two people. Count
Right.
how many times. And I was darn it, I was going to get that right. I'm
Right.
counting those balls back and forth.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, Jeff, I had the right number. And then somebody said, did you see the gorilla? I'm like, did I see the what?
Right.
I'm counting the balls.
Yeah.
Counting the balls.
Yes.
There's a gorilla. A man in a gorilla suit walks
Right.
right onto the stage.
He does
and
a little
I am
dance,
so
too.
busy counting the balls that I didn't see the gorilla.
Right.
But the scientific study was showing exactly what we're talking about. You could have the most unbelievable financial opportunities that are totally in alignment with what you want, but you're so busy counting the ball back and forth that you miss the gorilla. You
Right.
missed what you really wanted when it was standing in front of you.
When I saw that video, I was primed. So, okay, so what happened to me was, remember when people used to email out these jokes?
Yes.
So I got an email at work from somebody, and the email said, so you gotta like turn up your volume really loud, and then you're gonna hear something in it. If you look real close, there's people having sex in the back of the car, right? So I turn up my volume. I did exactly what I was told to do, and then this zombie jumps out in front and screams at me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, ha ha ha. We got Jeff, right? And I was like, okay, whenever you get one of these things, don't do what they say.
Well, and it's this whole thing about
Right.
is we have to remember that we all have a set level of bias
Yes.
and disorders around
Right.
a lot of things that we have come with from experiences or life experience. We lost a job early in life, or we were disappointed financially. We didn't have the cool clothes or shoes to fit in because our family didn't have enough money. Something happened that left a bias. And those biases influence us our whole life if we don't change our response to money.
Right.
And that's
true.
what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It's not that you were like, oh gosh, I'm glad I listened to them and I don't have any of those things going on. The reality is we all do.
Oh, yeah.
But they're different for every human. That's why humans are difficult and money is easy. It's identifying those and learning to work within your own. And when they pop up, understanding what you're seeing, and next, keep moving forward with what's most important to you.
There you go. So how can folks best get in touch with Shannon Ryan?
So my website is the best place, shannon-ryan.com. And I did a TED Talk 3 years ago. It's on there as well.
Wow.
And my book, and I've got blogs and vlogs. And
Talk about the book. What's it called again?
It's called Your Money Has Feelings.
Your Money Has Feelings.
Out on
Shannon
September
Ryan.
2nd. You get it anywhere books are sold.
That's
Amazon,
awesome.
anywhere.
Anyway, this has been a blast, Shannon Ryan.
Yes, Jeff. Thank you.
And thanks again
Thank you
for
for the
having
time.
an easy name to say. Come back anytime.
Thank you. I
we
would
can
love to.
talk more about money and how it's the easy part.
Yeah, it's the easy part. It is.
All right. You have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.